Good day, everyone, depending on where you are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're going to jump right into this. This message is for someone. This message is definitely for somebody. So I was talking to somebody today, and the things that this person was saying to me kind of hit me because they're experiences that I have had and experiences that I have gone through recently. Thankfully, I'm not in that position now, but the memories are still there, obviously. And when this person brought up their situation to me, I felt it almost as if I was back in that spot again. They have a sick relative, a sick elderly relative at that. And the family all has differing opinions on what treatment should be done to help this family member as best as they can. I've definitely been in that spot before. As all of you know, I was in that spot a year ago, 2 years ago with my dad. I didn't really talk about that side of it. Good evening, Sheena. I didn't really talk too much about that side of it. I just talked about going to visit him. I talked about playing my music in the nursing home. I talked about just my feelings about him being sick overall. But what I did not talk about was how hard it is to have somebody who has some kind of terminal illness, and there is different things that can be done for them, and all the family has differing opinions. There's the people that say, oh, don't put him in the nursing home, or don't put that person in the nursing home. um, they don't need to be in the nursing home, just take care of them at home. And then for us, we had the issue of feeding tube. We're deciding, are we going to put this feeding tube in, or are we not going to put this feeding tube in? And, me not being the person who was the primary healthcare proxy, a lot of these decisions were not in my hands. So I could advise, I could say that I think that this is the best way to go. And there were times when things were done that I did not think were the best. But I just had to support my family. And that's the thing that I wanted to hammer home for anyone who's in that type of spot. Assuming that everybody is for that family member, and what I mean for them, I mean sometimes there are times when somebody might not have the family member's best interest at heart, but throw that out the window. Assuming that everybody who is trying to assist in that person's care has the best interest of the family in mind, the family member in mind, you're a team that all wants the best for that person, and that needs to never be forgotten, because ultimately this person is sick. And even if you make the best decision out of what decisions are available, this is the very best option, you know that they're only going to be around for so long, regardless. So the most important thing, yes, their care is important. What you do for their care is important. And how they live out their last days is very important. I'm not going to take anything away from that at all. But after they're gone, the family still remains. And you never want your ideas on the care of that family member, your differing ideas, to be something that breaks apart your family unit. Because like I said, I faced some very trying times with my dad where some very serious decisions were being made every week. Every week. And to me, these were huge decisions, huge decisions. Sometimes we would talk it out, we'd talk to the doctors, we'd get these different opinions, and everybody would agree, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then someone would come to me and say, hey, change of plans. Now we're doing this. And it was just breaking my heart. It was making me very upset. It was just stressful. It just sent my mind in a tailspin. And at times it made me think negatively about how I was not always included in the process. But there was a certain point in time when I said to myself, we all want the best for my dad. If I think this is the best, if this person thinks this thing is the best, and if this other person thinks that's the best, like I said, we're a team. So we're everything that we decide is what we think is in the best interest. And you have to just kind of be understanding that when you get into that type of spot, I think everybody is desperate. Everyone just wants to see that loved one recover or get well as best as they possibly can. So that can be a high source of stress, and it can be something where everybody makes their own judgment calls on what they think is best. So if you want to present something to the rest of your family or your close loved ones, whoever it is that is involved in trying to assist this person, bring it to them from that perspective. Don't be combative. Don't say, my way is the best way, my way or the highway, this is better than that. Just say, we're all working together, right? Because we all want the best possible outcome for this person. Hi, Lisa. We all want the best possible outcome for this person. So let's lay everything out on the table, weigh everything out, and figure this thing out together. And I think that we don't have all the answers at the end of the day anyways. The doctors don't have all the answers. That's why they're called medical opinions. They're informed based on the medical research and the schooling that they did to get their degrees. But ultimately, you know, things are changing and there's always different ideas on new medical advances. We're just kind of guessing. Some take more educated guesses than others, but emphasize that you are all on the same team. Don't lose sight of that. No matter what's happening, do not lose sight of that. Now, that was just that portion of it. I had some encouragement as well. I know personally from spending approximately 3 to 3.5 years assisting with caretaking duties for somebody with a terminal illness. It can feel hopeless. It can feel like your mind never really has a chance to be free. Even if you happen to have free time, it's not really free time. Everyone who's done caretaking in the past or is doing it now knows exactly what I'm talking about. Make sure to enjoy, as hard as they might be. I can actually think back to some moments in the last 3 years that I spent with my dad that are very special to me. Even though in the moment it didn't feel that way, but in the state that he was in, everything was kind of slowed down because he was a busy guy in his prime years. He was somebody who always was on the go, always in the car, always on a plane, always in another country, going somewhere. There's times when I barely saw him. So this time span that I was taking care of him was probably, aside from maybe when I was a child, the longest time span me and him just sat in the house and had conversations. And some of those conversations were funny. Some things that he said were like, wow, he's saying things to me that he never said or rarely said, you know. Oh, I missed you, Colleen. Hi, Colleen. This is such an important message. Thanks for talking about this. I've been there. Worst experience ever. It still weighs on my mind all the time. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And the reason why I thought of this so much, if you didn't see the beginning, was that I was speaking to someone today who was very upset about the decisions their family was making towards this loved one of theirs that is elderly and sick. They had very different philosophies on what that person needed right now. And I've been there. And they were telling me this person just doesn't understand and that person just doesn't understand. And it could be life or death, these decisions that are being made. It's true. That is true. But families breaking apart because of that is just, it's not good. I don't have any other way to say it than that. It's just not a good thing. My brother at the time didn't like how I was doing things. Yeah, so value the time, not just that you have with the person that you are taking care of, but value the time that you have with your other family that is assisting in that process. It's a one-time thing. And you can sit down a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, when they're not here anymore, and say, oh, man, I spent all this energy arguing with my family. These are times when you need to come together and support each other, love each other, tell each other you love each other. Be there for one another, because you are all in a unique struggle that only you are going to understand in the way that you understand it. Even other people on the outside who have been there before with their family members, it's not their family members. So you're all tied together in that way. You are all tied together in that unique way, whether you like it or not. Arguments ensued. Oh, I was saying earlier in this live that in our family, a lot of people didn't like the fact that we got to a point where we couldn't take care of him in the house. They had this diehard belief that you need to keep them in the house and they die in the house. But honestly, you have to be so equipped to take care of somebody who was at the point that my dad was in, where he couldn't move, he was paralyzed, feeding tube, he's eating through the feeding tube. You know, he couldn't speak. Everything was bed, bath, and machines. There's no way. I mean, I can't say there's no way, but there's very few people who are equipped to take care of somebody at that level in your home. And we're not rich, because we sure learned that it costs a lot of money to get people to get like a 24-hour aid, which is actually probably what we would have needed to not have him in the hospice care. Yeah, not all my family agreed with that, but our immediate family unit was the ones who would have been dealing with that. These other people were not around us. But I will say, even though not everybody agreed, for the most part, I think that everyone just came to understand the situation, even though there was pushback in the beginning. And for the most part, people were like, you did what you had to do. Because obviously, I would have loved to keep him in for the remainder of his life, but it just wasn't something my mom and myself could do. Same here, could no longer do it in the house. Hi, Tasha. I've been on both sides. I had my dad, his mother, and his brother in the hospital. I was a contact for all three. Oh, wow. Only one of the three came home. My dad went into the hospital. Let me see. I can't even count how many times. I was going to count, but it was many times. And we brought him back as many times as we possibly could. Brought him back, brought him back, brought him back. The point that we stopped bringing him back was the point when he couldn't move anymore. That was the last time. But when he could walk with the walker and we would assist him up the stairs, down the stairs, into the bathroom, out of the bathroom, that was a hard task. And he had some falls too. I would have to pick him up off the ground. And man, that was no easy task. When somebody's like a dead weight on the floor and you have to lift them up and get them into a chair, there's no way for the average person. It costs too much. This is a whole other topic, Colleen. But yeah, for the average person, it definitely costs too much. And it doesn't even matter if you have spent 30, 40 years working and retired, like both of my parents. They were both retired. You get mediocre care at best, unless you have some kind of maybe private insurance that you set aside for years, or you're rich, one or the other. And not rich like six-figure rich like seven figures. Because they both made six figures for large portions of their working careers. But yeah, nobody is really going to understand. That's the other part of it. If you're actually a participating member in the caretaking, the people on the outside are never going to understand. Sorry if that cut out. It looked like it cut out. It could be their brother, it could be their sister, it could be their mom, it could be their dad. Unless they are there actively taking part in the caretaking part of the process, that experience is unique to you also. So they're not there to really know and understand what's going on. It's very tough. I helped my mom with my grandmother for 20 years until she passed in 2019. She had dementia. Oh, sorry for that, Tasha. I know dementia is hard. My grandfather had it and my dad had it. And it was hard. They both experienced it in different ways. I wasn't directly involved. I'm sorry this phone is cutting in and out. But yeah, I didn't understand it too well until I experienced it with my dad. And then, thank God my grandmother is here still because she talked me through so many different things. She's so strong. She's such a strong person. She's 89. And she would call and check on me weekly to give me encouragement and tell me about her experiences. Heidi, I get it. My brother was yelling at me while getting chemo in one hospital. I was working full. I think it's the Wi-Fi, but I'm only going to be on here for a few more minutes. I know we took in my husband's uncle with dementia for as long as, oh my goodness. We had a choking incident. We had multiple fall incidents. It was scary sometimes. And my dad had a runaway, two, no, I think one incident where he left the house, but fortunately he couldn't get far enough that he was out of sight. He was just at the end of the block. Freaked me out because he was in no position to. It's a travesty, Lisa. If I could do anything in my life, I know that this is far fetched, but I would love to be able to have a company, and not one of these BS companies, but a real legitimate company that could help families in those positions financially, because we were scraping money together for the help that we needed. And then we would pay these agencies to get somebody to come twice a week, and we'd pay them maybe $200 for 8 hours. That's a lot of money. It's hard to be in a spot where your family member needs round the clock care. You don't have the money to get the help. That's a tough spot. That's a tough spot to be in. I know some people here that I know places that cost as much as $10,000 a month. I'm gonna turn this Wi-Fi off because it keeps trying to connect to the Wi-Fi. I've experienced all of that. It's absolutely insane, and unfortunately, even after paying all that money, and this is the thing, the people that we got to come to our house were such a mixed bag in terms of how much care that they put into my dad. It was such a mixed bag. Shout out to the good caretakers, the ones that really care about their job and are not just doing it for the money and are very thorough. But the rest of y'all, please don't put other people's family in harm's way because of negligence like that. Because we had a couple of those incidents. I ended up having to move back home after dad died. Mom couldn't be alone. I knew I was done after that. Small family. I've had that experience too. All right, y'all. So I'm about to head off in the next couple of minutes, but thank you so much for joining in on this topic. This is such a tough topic, but an important one. I feel that some experiences in life are so hard. Some experiences in life are so hard. But I feel like if we take the experience to the grave without sharing with others how the experience was for us and how we got through it and how we got through the aftermath, I think those kind of things are important to pass along to the people that we care about, because it gives meaning to the experience. That's all we have in life. I know in Illinois we have programs that help with caretakers. Oh, that's good. That's great. We actually had a place here that provided respite care, free respite. However, they were no bueno. All the people that they sent were these young interns that didn't know what they were doing. It was free, but it was kind of like what Lisa was mentioning. You had to watch them. It is a neglected topic in our society, and it's like most of us experience this at some point, but how many people have you actually spoken to about it? I started to have conversations with people while my dad was sick, and I was like, wow, I did not even realize that this is what you experienced. And I kind of knew when their family member was sick too. And I would just tell them, I'm here for you if you need someone to talk to, if you need whatever. But I didn't really understand what they were experiencing until I kind of experienced it myself. But their words were so valuable to me during that time period. That's why in the aftermath, I want to continue to share my experience with others, because sometimes even just knowing that other people have been there too is like a mental relief. I have no idea how I made it through. Didn't think I would at the time. Yeah, you never feel like you're going to be able to get through it while you're going through it. And then you get out of it and you're like, where did that strength come from? If you're going through this, check with your city. I am not currently going through it, but it's good to have the information. Yes, interns. Oh, you had that experience too, Colleen, where these inexperienced young people, I'm not just saying it because they're young, but honestly, if you have somebody who needs very, very intensive care, I don't want them in the hands of somebody who just started doing this and are just kind of gaining hours for their resume. That's not the level that is needed for that stage of care. If you're that young, you got to be advanced, like you started doing this early or something. And then also, when the person that is needing the help is a man, and it's a man who falls and a man who can't stay on their feet too well and they're using a walker and they need support, even if it's going to be a woman who is helping with the care, it has to be somebody who is strong enough to make sure that they can get them on their feet. That's another thing that happened where I would get a call, oh, your dad's on the floor. I would have to stop whatever I'm doing, come back home, get him off the floor. Either that or the ambulance was going to be called, and we wanted to minimize the amount of times we had to call the ambulance. Absolutely, discussions and sharing experiences is so important. They even gave you a week off a year where you can put your loved one in a nursing home to take a vacation. You know, it might be a better system in Chicago, or I don't know if you didn't say Chicago, you just said Illinois, but it might be a better system in Illinois than in New York, because we would have to definitely check out the nursing home before feeling comfortable leaving our loved one in there, because we have some tough ones. We have some bad ones over here. There's some good ones, but there's many, many bad ones. There's nursing homes where they would just let your loved one wet themselves and they would leave them to sit in it for a minute. They wouldn't even, if they have, the crusties in their eyes in the morning, they would just leave it, especially if it was somebody who couldn't speak, like my dad. We had to be constantly going in there and making sure things were done. I twice had to call ambulance while I was at work. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Work is a whole other topic. Working a full-time job while having a loved one that you feel could die at any moment, terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I hope to never experience that again, but unfortunately, you can't choose what happens in life, so whatever is going to happen is going to happen, but traumatizing. I want to say that word. That might sound like an exaggeration, but it's not, especially when you have an employer that doesn't want to work with you properly. They just care about the production and they don't care about you personally. Experience should be a must. Yeah. Well, I understand actually that some people, you get the experience by doing it, so you have to start somewhere. But it's just like, if you're becoming a doctor, a surgeon or something, right? It's like you're not going to start the surgeon doing open heart surgery for practice. You're going to have them draw some blood, do some blood work, or, do some paperwork and build their way up. Observe observe a surgeon who's been doing this for a number of years before they actually start cutting somebody. So I think that an intern should only be given easier caretaker jobs. And they should probably be supervised, honestly. Supervised up to a certain number of hours. Like a job where they're mainly just maybe preparing their food, making sure that they take their medicines, not something that's really, really advanced. Yeah, the nursing home system is terrible. I agree. Well, it is. Yeah, I told you it is for me over here. Sadly, more bad ones. I feel that too. Traumatizing is the perfect word for it, no lie. It's definitely not an exaggeration. You're 100% right, Mark. Yeah, because your mind is never there. You're working, but this huge thing is in the back of your mind all the time. What if something happens? What if an emergency happens? What if today's the day? Oh, I got to talk to this doctor, and then we got to figure out this next thing for the care, and then this and that and the other. And you're working, and you're like, what is this even worth to me, anyways? I'm only doing this right now because I need the money, but I would rather just be able to be off and focus on my family, focus on my loved one. But yeah, anyways, thank you all for joining me here. I strongly appreciate this discussion, and I will continue to have more of these discussions as things come up because it's something that I enjoy doing, and I think it's helpful to me and to others. So I will talk to everybody again soon, and please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing evening.